I'm Pier Paolo Ramon. I'm the head of digital leader. I manage both the team for front-end development and design and user experience design on SMC. We mostly work on Liferay. We are the Platinum partner. So this topic of the digital enterprise for us is something so tightly related with Liferay. And I'm pretty sure that you're going to understand why. The subtitle of this presentation, which is aptly renamed as Digital Enterprise, is Digital Transformation through Great Employee Experience. And what I'm going to do is to try to make you understand why we at SMC believe that managing and offering a great employee experience is something so important for digital transformation. And we're trying to explain to you our experience on doing so using, of course, Liferay. So there's a little disclaimer. When you see this color on the slides, this is what I call the swag bag. I mean, something that I want you to take home. I'm a little bit obsessed on giving something to you during my presentations. So when you see blue, it's something that you need to remind about this presentation. And I hope it's going to be interesting for you. Now, let's try to understand why I'm talking about employee experiences in digital transformation. What is the relationship between these two things? Forrester, when he talks about digital transformation, has a nice schema, a nice graph that we can look at. It divides digital transformation in two different axes. You have the quality of the customer experiences, and then you have the digital operational excellence, which is the quality on how you provide that customer experiences to your customers. So the idea is somewhere in this graph, there's you. And your competitors probably are higher up on this graph. And you need and you want to get to them. The problem that Forrester says is that you cannot go straight to them. How can you at the same time offer a better customer experiences, so offering new services to your customers, and at the same time reducing the cost of experiences? So you cannot do both at the same time. You need to do something different. You need to use a pattern, something that if you sail or you go by boat, you do understand. You have to go like a zigzagging through the wind, okay? So one step, you improve your digital operational excellence, so you reduce the cost of offering experiences, and then you improve the experience. And so you go through the wind, and you get to your competitors, okay? What we're going to talk today is this. How can I reduce the cost inside my own company to provide better customer experiences in the end? Okay? Well, to improve your productivity, you need to do something about that. And Forbes in 2017 did something very important. They discovered that a satisfied employee is 20% more productive. And in sales, this rises up to 37% more sales. So if we want to be productive, to have a great digital operational excellence, a satisfied employee is going to help us do that. And how do I get a person to be satisfied? Satisfaction is very complex. It's something difficult to achieve. And there's a discipline, there's there's a job for that. And this is user experience design. When user experience comes to the table, it talks about satisfaction. So that's why we are talking about employee experiences. Because when I design the experience of my employee, I'm working for productivity. Okay? Of course, we can talk about employee experience as the hidden benefit of a company. It sums up cultural equipment and benefits like car and stuff you have, and of course salary. So it's like the sum of everything. Now, to work in improving the employee experience, there's one thing that is very important, and that is the digital enterprise. You can talk about that as digital workplace. It's the digital equipment, and it is very, very important for an employee, because if e-commerce or a website is the face of the company in front of the customer, the digital workplace is the face of the company to their employees. Okay? So this is something very critical in how the company is perceived by the user, by the employee. But there's a problem. It's taken for granted. Nowadays, in 2018, you take for granted a high quality of digital workplace. And now I'm going to do a little question to you. How many of you used Google Drive or Dropbox or WeTransfer for work-related stuff, but this tool is not an official one? Raise your hands. Okay, fantastic. Now the problem is, every time you use WeTransfer, Dropbox, Google Drive, and it is not a company tool, you are exfiltrating data. You are giving data to that provider. So they're like stealing our data. I mean, I don't think that Google is going to do something with it, but it's not in the company hands anymore. So we are losing value. First problem. And second problem, all of this has a fantastic user experience. Dropbox, Google, they're spending a lot of big money on user experience. So users expect that kind of quality. And they already use it. And they need to use it. But sometimes enterprises do not. Okay? So what's the problem? In 2018, the consumer, which is an employee, has better tools than an employee. So if you need to do something, to share a document or collaborate on something, you're going to use Google Drive. And that's a problem. That's a problem for the company. Okay. Now, what do we need to do then? We need to compete with Google Drive. We need to offer something more powerful, at least powerful as Google Drive. An intranet, a new kind of internet. And how do you build internet? Well, we are a Liferay DEVCON, so you can probably know already the answer to this question. But please, bear with me. Swag bag. First thing, your digital transformation strategy must include a digital enterprise strategy. Second, your colleagues have expectations that we need to meet. And third, either you do or someone else will. Okay. So we need to do this. We need to do something. Let's place a metaphor on top of this. We need to go to the beach. I want to take a bath in the sea. Okay? But I first need to get to the city near the sea. Well, when we create intranets, digital workplaces, of course we use Liferay, which is a fantastic tool, which brings us very, very near the sea. But there's something that in SMC we call the last mile. There's something we need to do. How many of you feel this slide resonates with you? And you know that? Raise your hands. Okay, so a little bit of you. But feels that Liferay as itself needs something more, a little bit more. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide something small that brings you from the train station to the beach. Okay? So I'd like to introduce to you to Open Square Spaces. A big applause to the product, please. Thank you. So what Open Square Spaces is just something we built on top of Liferay DXP to provide that last mile. Something easy, something simple to set up and use for users. But let's break it down. Another question, very small, I'm sorry, too many questions. How many of you are going to, or already did, use DXP or the older portal to create an intranet? Okay, fantastic. So this presentation is for all of you. Fantastic. Now, let's break it down, the subtitle of the product. Team Up, Enterprise, and Transformation. We're going to be inside each of those step by step. So Team Up is a comics book stuff. If you don't know what that means, it's like Deadpool and Spider-Man, but needs to beat some evil guy. They meet each other, they create a team, they kill the guy, and then they split up. It's a temporary team. They probably come from two different comic books. So what we believe in collaboration is that teams should be autonomous. They should come together, work together, and when they don't, they can split or do whatever we want to do. So this concept of autonomous collaboration that is very important for us. And another thing is that the whole value production chain must come to collaborate. Because Spider-Man alone couldn't do the thing, or Deadpool could not. But you need both of them to work against the evil man. Okay. So this is an actual screenshot of the product. Sorry for the Italian terminology. It's my own. It's from SMC. You can see all the spaces you can work on. Liferay developers here do understand that they are actually sites. Okay, but the big thing is not the fact that we have many sites. It's this big white button. I can create a new one. I'm not an administrator. I just click create new one, give it a name, and I have a new site. And of course, I need to set up which application I want to use. For example, in this case, I want documents, but I do not want the newsfeed. I don't want the tasks, but I want the calendar, for example. Okay, so who knows Liferay knows that you can do that, but you must be an administrator. You must know how to use the product. We are trying to remove those requirements, so any user can click a button, create a space, and start collaborating. This is what we really want to happen. Swapback, let people collaborate, but do not control them in doing so. Because if you control someone in how they collaborate, you have either two options. They're not going to collaborate at all, or they're going to be forced into collaboration. And collaboration is something spontaneous, must come from the heart. It was a little bit far-fetched, but anyway, okay. You got the idea. So you cannot anticipate any need they're going to have. Let them do their work and collaborate on that. Let's talk about visibility. Most products nowadays have this idea of internal, external users. Who uses Slack? Okay, you can be an internal or an external user inside Slack. So if you're an external user, you need to be invited to channels. Okay, so that's most of what you can do nowadays on this kind of enterprise stuff. But we believe this is incredibly too small to what we want to achieve. So our idea was to create the concept of fragments so that you can have customers, you can have suppliers, and all of them can collaborate on the same stuff and have different visibility levels. Again, oh my God, yeah, this is just Liferay roles or teams or whatever they used. No, it's not. It's something more complex. It's a sum of roles, of teams, of permission management, and we try to package it up and to solve at the last mile. It's just 2 clicks to create a new segment and another 2 clicks to set up what a segment can do and what a segment can see. So this is our mission, to remove complexity from using the core features of Liferay DXP. The problem is, in this specific topic, is that we want to remove the line between internet and extranet. So a supplier, is that different from a customer? A colleague is so different from someone from my customer? Or are they just people collaborating on the same topic? So the idea is blur the lines and change your vocabulary, I suggest to you. Remove the term internet. I'm not using it anymore in SMC. We use digital workplace. We use collaboration features, but we do not talk about internets anymore. Because if you talk about internet, then you have an extranet. Okay? So you have an extra or intra, inside, outside. There's no inside, outside. There's this place or that other place. You can do or you cannot. That's it. Remove the line. Change your vocabulary, please. Another thing that we all know is collaborative editing. So we have been talking about collaboration environments. Okay, so medium to long-term collaboration. Now let's talk about real-time collaboration, short-term collaboration. We all know Google Docs is the standard. You have to provide something like that. Do your internet provide something like Google Docs does? Say it out at 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, some yes, some no. Okay, I'm talking to the no. Yes, please go outside. Well, okay, jokes apart. Your next digital workplace will have one, because this is a requirement that is very important. Of course, the important thing is not editing stuff online, but these 2 small cursors at the same time. This is me and my colleague, okay? And we are working on the same document, okay? We integrated that. And you need it to be integrated. That means that I can open a document of the documents media in any format it has, and it needs to be editable, online, real-time, collaboratively, okay? So to do so, you have to spend a lot of time, or you can download it, okay? How many of you already knew that there was this feature on the marketplace? Look around. Okay, now you know. Okay? You can have collaborative editors on top of Liferay, out of the box, with a marketplace plugin. Next topic. Someone was making a picture. If you want to take a picture. There's the link so that you can go and click on it in the PDF when you download it. So let's go to the second topic, enterprise. Enterprise is a bad term that means complexity, and indeed we added complexity to the product to cover a little bit of cases of enterprise stuff. But we have three major topics around enterprise. First one is that our product is cloud first, but also on-premises first. That means that you can use OpenSquare spaces just by creating an instance or our own product as a service infrastructure, so you don't have to manage anything. We just manage it for you. But you can also install it on your own company, or you can also install it on your own cloud. Because we think that you cannot choose only one of the two sides. The second topic about enterprise is the ability to integrate with enterprise stuff. CRM, ERP, and ECM, enterprise content management, because collaboration on documents, it's okay. Collaboration on files, on discussion, and that kind of stuff is very interesting, but you need to do work stuff, and work stuff happens also on that stuff. So we need to integrate inside and outside of ERP, CRM, and that kind of infrastructure and system. And the last one, of course, is you need to be able to configure an environment. You don't want users to use the forum functionality in OpenSquare Spaces when you have another product that does the forum. So that's what we do. One important thing we believe is how we are trying to deploy and offer OpenSquare Spaces. We are partnering with Liferay to provide an easy way to install OpenSquare Spaces on their own cloud, on their own private cloud. So that if you need OpenSquare Spaces and do not want to use our own product as a service, you just download it and use it from Liferay. I'm not going to pose a question, but I'd like to pose you a doubt. If any of you is a partner of Liferay or built a solution on top of Liferay and is not already providing it as a product as a service or through Liferay, the question I don't want an answer now is why? Start thinking about it, because it's a very nice way to provide huge features to customers. So let's move on the enterprise side of stuff. Swipe back first. So be cloud ready, cloud first from day one. One thing is we do not want to suggest to you to be cloud only, because on-premises solutions are still very, very, very incredibly painfully important in Europe for at least a few years. So configurability, enterprise configurability. I'm going to zoom in on this. There are two main use cases of configurability. I don't want this product to conflict with other products that are already implemented in my company. First reason. And the second one is because if I have many companies, or if I'm implementing collaboration in my company, I want to do incremental rollouts of features. As a UX designer, I have to say, and a UX analyst, I have to say to you that you cannot expect hundreds of users to start to collaborate just because you give them the tool. You need a change management strategy. And that change management strategy probably includes an incremental rollout. So you give documents, and then you give discussions, and then you give wikis. You do things step by step. And configurability lets you do that. You enable stuff one at a month. Okay? Of course, you can use that with segments to have early adopters of new features, obviously. Let's get to the last point, transformation. So how many of you know what inner sourcing is? No one? Okay, I need to explain that. If you think about open source is I'm building something and I want everyone to see what I'm doing. So the idea of inner sourcing is the same of open source, but internally of the company, inside the boundaries of a company. The question is, I'm starting to build this presentation, this exact presentation. Why should my colleague not be able to see it. Why? There's no reason. So let's go public by default. If there's something confidential, then I'm going to say, no, this is private. So inner sourcing is a paradigm that we want you to achieve, and we think you should achieve inside your company. And Open Square Spaces is the tool we think can help you do that. Okay. And the other part of inner sourcing is the fork model. The idea that if my colleague can see my document, he cannot edit it, but he can propose changes to it. This is very important because it's still an ideal team up. He's looking at the document, he spot an error, a typo error, and to say, oh, it's wrong. Select the text and propose a change. Okay? This is very important to create a collaboration culture inside your internal community. So it's a small change. It's just a default, a different default, but it's incredibly impactful. So if you can do that on your product, on your stuff, please do that. Okay. In the last year, we presented already this product last year. So there's a few new features that I'd like to talk about. If some of you remember what we talked about in last years in other symposiums or other events, but there are just a few features that are really important for me, and they can shed some lights on what we are doing and why. For example, the ability to share documents with guests, or the document archive, which is like an immutable version of document library. You can create workflows that they apply digital signatures to documents, and they are archived there forever. This is very important for legal reasons in Italy, so this is something that we really cared about. Advanced search, of course, so that you can have complex queries on top of documents and mostly the document archive. Then we have Microsoft Exchange calendars, because most companies have their own calendar infrastructure we need to integrate to. And then we have a slim webmail. This is very strange to look at in 2018, but we're going to look into it later. And then we have the ability to send documents by email, and the passive LDAP provisioning, the technical stuff, and nested spaces, which are like nested sites, but with some very complex fabric of integrations between permissions and document archives. So for example, you can have a project, and then you can have a smaller space to share documents just to the customer, so that the main one is staff only. So for the internal meeting, internal stuff, internal documents, and then you can create a published version of your documents. So this is why we are building it. For the technical guys, technical ladies in the room that do not really understand why Liferay is so important and why Liferay is the tool to build this kind of experiences, just have a look at this small example. When you want to share something with guests, you have to create a visible URL, okay? Something that you do not need authentication to access to. Okay? That's what we built for document library. You select a document, you say, okay, I want to share it. Instead of sharing with someone, with some internal Liferay user, you say, okay, I want to create a public URL. And you can place, of course, an expiration date on top of it. So we create something in our database that represents this accessibility, this temporal limited accessibility. And of course, if expiration date is in the past, that accessibility is not valid anymore. And every night, every 6 hours, whatever, we can launch a scheduled process that cleans up after expired publication database rows. So what's interesting about Liferay is that it's a product, but yet it has all the infrastructure for us to build a scheduled implementation in just a few lines of code. So what you can do is you create an action, the concept of answering an action, and then you say, okay, let's set up a listener for it, so that this action is called every few minutes, every hours, and that kind of stuff. At the same time, you have a scheduled cleanup process, but you can also call that manually. So this is the power of Liferay DXP. You have a product, and yet you have all these development tools very, very built inside the product itself. Of course, we're trying to publish this feature too on the marketplace. It's expected around the second quarter of 2019. It has a lot of custom implementation that we need to clean up before it's ready for prime time in the marketplace, but expect to have it available very soon. Let's talk about webmail. I expect you to think that this is weird. It's 2018. Why we talk about webmail? Well, we built a webmail, a very standard one. We have notifications about the unread messages. You can read emails. You can create a new email. But there's one thing that is very important. We built all of this just for one thing. This, the compose email view. And there's one interesting thing, sorry for the Italian language, is attach document. I say, and then? Well, I can attach document from the document library. So the idea is, with just a few lines of code, I do not have a webmail. I have a collaboration tool integrated with the system. We do not expect people to use it extensively, but when they do, they're going to be able to integrate with their own collaboration workflows. And of course, we're trying to release it in the marketplace too, and it's almost ready for prime time. So in the first quarter of 2019, please check it out. It's going to be released soon on the marketplace. So let's recap everything we have talked about. So digital enterprise transformation is critical. It's something you cannot avoid. Not in the short term, not in the medium term. You have to do it as soon as possible. Second, consumers, which are employees, have high expectation. And if you do not provide something that answers those expectations, they're going to find it outside of your company. And it's going to be a problem because this is content and data that is going outside of your company. And you're losing an opportunity to make it more valuable for your information management and content management and knowledge management, I'm sorry. 4, do not over-engineer your governance processes. People need to be free. They need guidance. You need to give them roads to work in, but they need to be able to go outside of those roads and find their own way to collaborate, their own opportunity, moments, time, occasions to collaborate. And 5, do not limit yourself to employees, because the collaboration process should be complete and should include customers, suppliers, partners, and interns. So everyone should be on the same page. 6, collaborative editing is very important. It's a huge feature, and you do not need to develop it. You just need to install it, please. 7, be cloud ready, but not cloud only. 8, public by default is the way to go. If you're starting a project now, don't even think about private by default. Go with public. If something goes wrong, you can change that later. Okay? That's the philosophy behind it. And now, 9, users need to be able to send stuff, to collaborate with users you do not know about. So the idea is remove the need for WeTransfer. Remove the need for Dropbox to share files, because they need to do, and they're going to do, and provide them with something to do. Okay? Something that lets them do it. And 10, legacy stuff, because we believe email is somewhat legacy, has value, has an incredible value, but not as a standalone vertical environment, but integrated with modern digital workplace objects. Okay? Well, that's it. Please rate this session. And if you want a suggestion, I have a proposed feedback for you so that you can place on the app. Jokes apart, this is the website. There's very short introduction. You can send us an email, and we get to you to talk about the product, the eventual pricing, and all that kind of stuff. Most of it we are trying to release as plugins. I hope that you are taking home with you the ideas and the reasons we are building open square spaces. We will be very happy if you are going to use open square spaces in your next project or for your own company. But that's it. Thank you so much.